People, in Tripoli have been protesting against the revolutionary troops that took over the city. They're angry that hundreds of armed men are still cruising the streets after capturing the city in late August. Locals argue that their presence provides little security as they follow no particular orders and they fire off their weapons at will. Robert Parry is the editor of internet investigative magazine Consortium News. He thinks people are now realizing the cost of blindly supporting the revolutionary forces.
There was evidence, even going back to the very beginning, that the eastern part of Libya was a hotbed of Islamic radicalism. Some of these people have been connected to al-Qaeda. One of the al-Qaeda leaders who was killed recently, Atiyah, was a Libyan, and he came from this general area. Now we know that one of the leaders of the rebel forces that took Tripoli was also considered very close to al-Qaeda and was indeed detained by the United States for some time before he was allowed to go free. So it appears that the people with the guns on the side of the Libyan rebels, or now the government, are people who have this very mixed background. And it's not clear how that also sorts out when you get down to the point of, once the country's under the control of this force, which side of this force will be predominant.
Meantime, Libyan revolutionary forces say they have surrounded the city of Sirte, a Gaddafi stronghold. Meanwhile, aid agencies are alarmed at the thousands of civilians fleeing the besieged town. People are being driven from their homes by fierce fighting and a general lack of supplies. Rob Lyons, a deputy editor of the independent online magazine Spiked, says the situation has only been made worse by NATO.
This is the inevitable consequence of the things that they got rolling back in February. That a kind of half-hearted intervention was always going to end up with last stand by Gaddafi's forces. In fact, this is the kind of last stand that we expected in Tripoli a few weeks ago that never happened, and clearly there's a last stand now. And the thing about the role of the international community now could be making things worse, not simply by bombarding the city, but by actually having made such a fuss about civilians not being injured or hurt, even though they clearly have been. But by saying that, it's given the Gaddafi forces a real incentive to keep those civilians in the city, probably against their will. I'm sure many of them would like to get out of there now, but they effectively become a kind of shield by which that they can stay there for and hang on for a bit longer.